Rome, the empire of Julius Caesar, hills and mountains, millions, millions of people, military, perfect writing, and the plebeians have much more to it than you think.
Shepherd, I found these children in the river.
Don't worry, I'll take
The
care
rise
of
of Rome began with the myth Romulus and Remus.
The myth started with the twins' great uncle, Amulius, seizing power of land by killing Numitor's male section of the family. Once Romulus and Remus were born, Amulus ordered and abandoned them to go die in the Tiber River.
However, when put in the river, the twins were basically saved by the river, floating them to a she-wolf, and then the twins were raised by a shepherd. The twins, though, still had their origin of the throne stuck deep inside them.
When the twins were informed of their true family line, they went and killed Amulus to restore the Numitor to his throne.
Remus, we must go back to save the future of our land.
What do you think we should do?
Death!
What's that? Who's there? Death to you.
After that, the twins began left to go inherit their own land. Each of them found different areas of land and practically fought over which was better.
This hill over here, brother, looks perfect for a new territory.
No, this one.
That one's stupid. Over here.
No one calls me stupid.
Remus ended up president, and Romulus named the land after himself as Rome.
The factual rise of Rome's republic is hidden and locked behind myths and legends, like the well-known one that was just explained.
The whole combination of physical features surrounding Rome helped grow from a small republic to a large and strong empire.
Rome was protected by several different hills and mountains that helped stop invasions. These were unlike other empires/areas.
We're looking at Greece.
These mountains and hills didn't divide the lands into separate city-states. Another feature in Rome were their rivers and the sea. The peninsula had control over the Mediterranean Sea, which helped with trade, travel, and protection.
They also had control over the Tiber River, where babies float to she-wolves, the Danube River, and the Rhine River. These three rivers helped with protection, drinking water, trade, and good
In farmland, the Romans grew food such as beans, fruits, vegetables, wheat, barley, and olives. The plains near the rivers is where the farming mainly took place.
Let's go, son. It's time to farm. I'm tired. It's too early. Like I said, it's time to farm.
The city of Rome went through 4 different stages: the monarchy, the republic, the empire, and the fall. Rome basically started off with rulers called Etruscans.
The last Etruscan was Tarquinius Superbus. Superbus? No, Superbus, who was also known as Tarquin the Proud. The people revolted against the last egg, overthrew him, and swore to never have a king ever again.
Now we're at stop 2. The Roman Republic. In 509 BC, the Republic was formed and their government was something like a representative democracy.
Then you ask, what is a representative democracy? And I say, a representative democracy is a type of government where people elect a leader who must follow the laws.
Therefore, there are no more eggs being hatched like Tarquin the Proud.
However, not everyone was included. There were 2 parties of free Romans, the patricians and the plebeians.
Now the plebs were the lower class besides the slaves who are not free.
Quick run-through of what the plebs are. They farm and were past slaves. The patricians are the landowners, and the military, and the money, but they're outnumbered by the plebs. The patricians, naturally, had more rights, and the plebs, naturally, didn't like them.
How dare you try to have more rights than we, the plebeians? We shall revolt.
No, Revolti, we naturally have more rights than you. You scum!
Revolt shall occur if we do not have rights.
No rights!
Bang, bang, punch, punch, they fought.
The patricians ended up passing a written constitution called 12 Tables. so they wouldn't die. Now, this is in 450 BC. They had a written constitution.
Now that the plebs had more rights, the tables indicated that all free male citizens could legally participate in the government. Sorry to the slaves, women, children, and babies, but you'd never be able to participate in the Roman government in that time ever.
There were 4 parts to this new and improved government. Rule of law, which is basically saying that the written constitution applies to everyone. Civic duty, which implies that all participate in government, whether that is voting or being a male leader. Remember that the rest could not be leaders. Separation of powers, which is the tripartite government, where there are 3 branches of government and each branch has its own job or duty to Rome. And finally, check and balances, which is the idea that leaders are elected and power is spread throughout the leaders, and that each branch of government can tell each other no.
Can I go bomb this area of our own republic? No.
Now that I'm back from being 5,000 different people, the manufacturing industry and the trading had a great effect on the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire thrived mostly on farming. This is what led them to trade.
They farmed mostly grains, but also onions, grapes, olives, and apples. The farmers would sell their crops, and all of the surplus crops would be given to the government instead of paying taxes.
The government gained popularity due to free grain population and feeding the legions. Though this led to farmers having less incentive because more crops they grew, the more they had to pay. The farmers, along with the access to the Mediterranean Sea for transportation, led to trade.
They exported their crops to Egypt, Sicily, Tunisia, and North Africa. If there was any disruption in the trade, the penalties included deportations to even execution.
The economy also relied on manufacturing plants and small industries. Their largest industry was the mining. To be able to build all the beautiful things, they needed materials for the tools and buildings.
This was the largest industry, but there were also smaller industries that made handmade pottery, glassware, weapon tools, jewelry, and textiles.
The social classes are usually shown in the pyramid. The highest were the priests, patricians, and augurs were one of the most important people in Rome. They had the authority to interpret signs from the gods. This allowed them to see if the gods believed that an idea from the government was good. If there was battle, they felt shouldn't occur because a god had gave them a sign. They had the power to say so. They had to read natural phenomena and see if it was a sign from the gods and see what it meant.
Lower on the pyramid was warriors, also patricians. They were very disciplined. They had to be at least 20 years old. Only men could join. Like the government, no babies. And they also had to be Roman citizens. They were divided in about 30 legions consisting of 3,000 to 4,000 people on each. They were then divided into 6
Then
groups.
there were herders, farmers, merchants, and artisans. They were the most important part of the Roman economy. They dealt with industry, manufacturing, agriculture, and trade. They were also called plebeians, as they were lower class.
Had to donate all of the surpluses of food to the government. The artisans were in charge of the beautiful buildings and the sculptures all through Rome. The merchants sold the food and other tools circulating the economy. Last on the pyramid were the servants and the slaves.
The servants were mostly indoors, taking care of most of the patrician households and had jobs such as cooks, maids, etc. The slaves were very important to the Roman Empire, as they were in charge of farming and other manual labors.
Rome's culture consists of family life, food, homes, city life, entertainment, and games. The families in Rome are different from modern families.
There was many types of food in Rome, including musulum, which is honey wine, locane, sausages, boiled eggs with peanut nut sauce, garma, fish sauce, and many more.
The homes of the rich were complex and had elaborate gardens, but the farmers were more lower class and had very small lands with a small land. For entertainment and games, the Romans had gladiator fights. Gladiators would fight to the death between other gladiators, wild animals, or criminals. This is ancient Rome's culture. There was a multitude of things that contributed to the fall of Rome. One was corrupt officials. Julius Caesar had been born the 13th of July in 100 BC. He was born to a wealthy family and grew up to be a general.
In 60 BCE, he made a political alliance with Crassus and Pompey, and it dominated Roman politics for years. He fought in the Gallic War, leading the territory of Rome to expand to the English Channel and the Rhine River. These accomplishments gave him an absurd amount of military power.
A civil war broke out after Caesar refused orders to step down from his military position, and he won that war, giving him yet more power and influence. With all this power, he started changing things.
Caesar changed the calendar to something more similar of what we use today. Caesar also centralized the bureaucracy of the Republic, being named dictator and perpetuator.
After Caesar was assassinated by members of the Senate, yet another civil war broke out, with his adopted heir Octavian winning, seizing power, and the Roman Empire began. A line of military losses to barbarian invasions contributed to weakened lines.
Economic problems and extreme reliance to slave labor contributed to the overall lack of persistence in upholding security and stability.
Overall, so much led to the fall of Rome. The mountains around Rome may have protected it from many invasions, but in the end, opponents can learn to work around that difficulty. From military failures to assassinations to slaves and working people, it all led to the fall of an empire.